I am going to do a quick little video on how to winterize your Casita camper. The first thing I did, which I did a while ago to save the time, is I opened this valve on the side right here and drained all the water out of the tank. At that point I came over to the other side and I took all the pressure off of the hot water tank relief valve by pulling this little lever right here up. Once I got that up, then what I'm going to do once I relieved all the pressure off of it, which a little bit of water will squirt out, I'm going to use this socket right here. It's a 27 millimeter socket. And it goes on the anode rod. You unscrew it. Once you get it unscrewed, you pull it out, and your anode rod should look something like this. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. Okay, at that point, I have this tool here, and all it is a shut off open and close valve with a little hose on the end. I'm going to stick it up in this hole where the rod was taken out, open it up, and I'm going to move it around and try to clean out any debris that was in there. As you can tell, there's some coming out. That little white stuff that you'll see. We'll do that for just a little bit until it looks like we get all that stuff out of there. Clean it all off. Looks like that ought to do it. I'll turn this off and get it out of the way. Okay, I removed a little tool off the hose, and this is what it looks like. It's just a little on and off valve, a little piece of rubber hose connected to the end of it, cut off about 10 inches, and it just goes up in the hole and you just rinse it out inside there. Alright, once we get the hot water tank drained and the freshwater tank drained, the next step that I do is I go down here on this door that's down by the hot water tank and I shut off the bypass to the hot water tank. Let me show you how that's done. Open this door and there's a little valve right there. I don't know if you can see that there or not. On the back side, turn it to your right, and that does the bypass on the hot water tank. So when we get ready to blow air through there, we won't be blowing the air out the hot water tank. It should just go right through the lines. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to connect up the air line to the air compressor and show you how I do that. Stand by. Okay, now on the air compressor, what I'm doing here is I'm going to crank the pressure down on the tool down a little less than 40 psi. How you do that, the valve here, you can see that I'm running about 100 psi there. And if I turn that, it lets pressure out until we're going to get, I would say, Probably right in that area, probably 30, 35 pounds. And that's all there is to the air compressor. I ran the line out through the garage to the camper. So now we're going to go out there and I'll show you the next step. Okay, what I did here is I took an old hose that I can screw into the city water connection on the camper on one side, and on the other side I put a little snap-on piece that will go right into my air hose on my compressor line. So let me show you how that's done. Okay. Hopefully you'll be able to see that. I'm just popping off this little plastic thing on the city water. And I'm going to screw the end of the hose into it. Get it tight. And hook the other end of the hose right up to the water connection. There we go. Simple as that. Okay, once we get that done, let me show you once again how that looked. I'm also leaving that hot water tank open for now to let it air out a little bit. I will close that all up back later when it dries out a little bit. Okay, let's go inside the camper. And I'll show you what I do. Okay, move some stuff out of the way. Haven't really cleaned it up since my last camping trip. I was a campground host for 3 years down at a local county park. I use this thing every weekend up until basically Halloween. So what I do is I just open up all those lines, the water lines. I turn my pump on, run any water that might be in the lines out and in the pump. Okay. You can hear the air coming out of the lines. Okay. Stand by and we'll come right back to this little process. Okay. What I did is I had to go readjust the air compressor so that it would shoot out about 38 psi. And you can definitely hear the air running through the lines here. So I'm going to do that with the cold water line and the hot water line. As you can tell, there is water in the line itself. Let's let that run for just a half a minute or so, and I'll finish it up here in a little bit so you don't have to sit here and watch the water run out of a faucet. But you'll be able to tell when there's no more water in it because it will spit out at you. Okay, I have the pump on right now, and I'm going to go into the toilet here, and you can hear that air going through the line. But I'm just going to let the air run through the toilet line, get all the water out of the line itself. Then I'm going to do the same thing here. with the cold water and the hot water. See, there's no more water coming out of that. Very simple to do. Turn that off. Now we're going to do the hot water. Blow all of that water out of that line. Make sure you get it all out so it doesn't freeze. Alright, let me back out just for a minute. As you can tell, it's still shooting water out. What I like to do also, what you need to do, it's not that you like to do it, but make sure that you get all the water out of your shower hose. So just pull the plug, turn it on, there we go, and run all that water out of there. I just like to have my hose hanging down and let it drain throughout the winter time. I keep everything opened up also. I keep all the plumbing opened up, all the faucets, to let air movement go through there. So you can see it's pretty much dry. Turn that off. Open these valves up again. I'll go back to the kitchen, to the galley here, and do the same thing to this. And as you can tell, we got a little bit more water and air coming through that cold water side. And we're going to continue doing that until we get no more water through our lines. Okay, please stand by and I'll update you when I get all the water ran out of the lines. Okay, something that I had to do, being that I only have an 8-gallon air compressor, is I had to go out and unplug the air compressor coupler off the side of the camper and let the air compressor build up enough pressure to resume this operation. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. As you can tell, I'm still getting a little bit of water through there. This does take a little bit of time to do, so there's no need to be in a big hurry. I'll get back to you as soon as I get some more of this water blew out of the line. It's not that big of a deal. Well, we're still letting the air compressor catch up again. Let me try and see if we're getting any more water out. Cold water side. And the hot water side. Looking pretty good. Once I get that all done, I use this RV antifreeze and I pour that down all the drains and the toilet. So I'll pour it in the kitchen sink, down the bathroom sink, and in the toilet. Now something that I will let you know too is once you pour that in your sink there, make sure that you clean it out because it will stain it. And it's a little bit hard to get off, especially if it dries. But it does come off because I left it in there last year and I had to work on it to get that clean. But that's all there is to that part. I shall be back in a little bit and we'll follow up. Okay. I'll let the compressor catch up here. Once again, no water coming out of that. No water coming out of the bathroom faucet. Let's try that stool one more time. No water coming out of that, so we should be good to go. And the next step, like I said a while ago, is we're going to pour some of this antifreeze down in the sink here. So let me get this opened up. I'll be right back with you. Okay, I got her opened up. And all we're going to do is pour some of this down in the drain. Pretty simple. Now you can get this stuff at Lowe's, Home Depot. I got this at a farm supply house. Pour it down in that drain. It's really cheap. I think this was $2.99 for a gallon of it. I'll pour it down in the toilet just to keep anything down there from freezing. Open it up. I'll pour a little bit in the top here. And can't forget the floor. Gotta pour a little bit down in that drain. Okay, that was a whole gallon we used. Not a big deal. Alrighty, folks. The next thing I do is I keep my valves open. I do have the air disconnected. I wipe out the sinks with these little blue shop towels just to try to help keep it from staining. Same way within here. It's very easy to do. And then I'll also wipe off the toilet because I splashed some on that, but you don't really need to see how that's done. Stand by and I'll get back with you on the outside stuff again. Okay, here we are to the outside again. The next couple steps we need to do is disconnect our water connector for our air line. Something easy to do. It's basically like screwing on a hose. I'm going to work on this hot water heater just a second. I'll show you that in a minute. Don't forget to do something with your battery. Now, what I do with my battery is I disconnect it, I put it in the garage, and then I put a little battery tender charger on there for the winter time. Keeps it fresh all winter. And I also failed to mention to you a while ago, when I was putting the air in the lines, to be sure to turn that valve off. Otherwise, you're not really doing a whole lot of good. Okay, what we're going to do next is we're going to take off this Teflon tape that's on this inner rod. And that sometimes can be hard. You might have to use a wire brush or something on it. Now this rod I just put in this last year and it's still in really decent shape. I bought 2 of these rods and that socket and a brush off of Amazon last year, and it was like $20, so it's very cheap. So we're going to peel this stuff off, and then I'll show you what to wrap it with and how to do that. Just want to try to get all that stuff off if possible. Can be time consuming, so do the best you can. Comes off slow in little pieces. Okay, got it all off. Alright, so now what we're going to do, we're going to put some new Teflon tape on it. Teflon tape will come in a little container that's white and blue, and the tape itself is white. You can see it inside there. So what you need to do is get the Teflon tape started, and you need to wind it clockwise from the end. Just put several good wraps around it, and if it breaks off like that, no big deal. Just grab it again and start in again with it until you get to a good section. And I don't know if I'm going to get into a good section for a while. So let's try that again. But you don't need to put tons and tons on it. You just need to make sure that it works good. Looks like a spider web. Even sticks like a spider web. Let's see if I can fix this tape. Aha, here we go. Here we're making progress now. Okay. I like to hold mine with my finger in the middle there, and hold a finger up here and just kind of wrap it around, and you want to pull it a little bit tight. Just go around it about a half a dozen times or so, and then break it off, and that's all there is to that. Now this is the tricky part. The tricky part is to get this to go in that hole and thread it. It's very hard to get in there and do that. So it's one of these type of things where you got to hold your mouth just right. So I go back and forth with it until I feel like I got the threads in there, which I do now. Then I use my socket and I tighten her up a little bit. And that's all there is to it. That should be in there nice and solid, but don't cross thread those threads on that, because then I don't know what you would do. Down there is where the rod is. I'm going to leave that shut-off valve open all winter. And at that point, we should be pretty much winterized. If there's any questions, put it in a comment and we'll figure it out. Thanks for watching. Here's a few pictures on the supplies that I used to do this project.